Okay, remember that they're changing my voice. This video is about the logical assumption, it's about wisdom, and it's about the timeline. This video is important. So there's a bunch of people who say things like, you don't know that, right? They don't know if they're going to get hit by a car on the way to work. So why are they going to work? Because they have to go by the logical assumption to some degree, or they just fall off in life completely and their life is wasted. In 2009, when I first made my first official video, part one of a very important series about the fact that there's this massive corporate conspiracy, what have you. And I said that we're still waiting for your apology to the governing class, which I refer to as Mr. White Man, right? They talk about it's a white man's world. The white man does this, that, and the other thing, right? And of course, I brought up Jews, and eventually I would get to LGBT people and token minorities, what have you. Okay, so I said that there's a problem. We need to change course. We need a moral order, a wise and moral order. The main point of making videos, right, is that we need to do God's work and have this moral order. So let's fast forward to 2016 when I start making songs where I'm basically in tears and very emotional. And I'm saying there's as many as 60 million plus preventable deaths every year, and we need to do something about it. In the last 10 years, if that number is basically accurate, 600 million people have died from preventable deaths as a result. A lot of people might have said, you don't know if they're going to solve the problem. Some people do say things like that. You don't know that. You don't know that. Now 600 million people are dead because they reject the idea of universal pinpoint and moral precision, and they reject the idea of the logical assumption, aka the sound conclusion. They reject these ideas, and they say they're going to follow their theories and do whatever they want. Countless people have wasted their lives, have died thieves and rapists and drug addicts and all kinds of unrepentant people who refuse to make amends for what they do wrong. Call it sin, call it this, call it that. They refuse to do that. These are universal ideas. Sometimes when we call it sin, it confuses that it's simply a universal wrong. So fast forward to 2021 when I present my homeless plan. I say we need to scramble to present this, to build housing for the homeless, or a lot of people are going to die. A lot of people might say, you don't know that. You don't know this. You don't know if it's going to crash. It wouldn't crash the economy. Okay, rich people, when they go buy food, they go buy cars, they don't care about the price tag more often than not. They're just like, I'll have this, this, and this bottle of wine. They get the check, they sign for it, they leave a tip, they're out of there. You tell me during that process they can't spend some more money housing the poor? Wouldn't it cost very much? With tiny homes, we could have housed the poor for $30 billion. That's just $3 billion a year in the last 10 years for 10 years, but we needed to do it right away. So just, $30 billion at once instead of the $3 billion collected over 10 years. It's pocket money for the rich, pocket money. There are rich people that could pay that for themselves. By themselves, no problem, no problem. Elon Musk brought Twitter for much more than that. So they ignored me. And people continue to die. They ignore my preventable deaths. First and foremost, they ignore my moral order argument. In 97 or 98, when I made a song, they ignored my song and didn't want to give me my rightful place and care that I'm a brain surgeon's son, so they suppressed what I had to say. And I said people need to start answering the higher call and not just trying to quote-unquote bawl. Bawl, ironically, is the enemy of God in the Bible. They need to stop chasing money and they need to do what's right. And I was trying to get that song out there in 1998. Okay, I was about 16 years old, turning 17, what have you. So they kept ignoring me, and people kept dying. Women kept being raped. People kept being abused. People kept lying about God. They kept lying about the logical assumption and universal pinpoint and moral precision. And so now here we are in 2026. 5 years later, we could have ended homelessness in less than 6 months easily if we scrambled to build tiny homes and to do the logical assumption there. Have certain transportation in the city would have saved lots of money on hotels and on homeless cleanups and court fees and stuff like this. It costs like $67,000 a year per inmate in California or something to house people when they commit a crime. A lot of people would have gotten on their feet instead of committing crimes. We could have built rehabs, what have you. So by 2022 or 23, I start telling people about my plans that include rehabs and so on and so forth. Maybe it was even December 2021. I don't remember the exact date. So we could have had tons of rehabs built. $36 billion going into rehabs every year. 36 billion plus. We could have fed all these hungry children, so on and so forth. That's what happens when people ignore the sound argument of the logical assumption. The logical assumption idea, the most logical assumption, that is a sound methodology for how one should live their life. I know, I'm the top martial artist ever possible, and that's the overwhelmingly logical conclusion. There's the character, there's the top martial arts challenge, the world record speed, there's the wordplay that shows that it defaults with me as the Igbo royal family member that emerged to demand his rightful place, right? The Igbo leader emerges. He doesn't just kick back and say, hey, look at me, I'm doing this. I'm a businessman, I'm a lawyer, I'm a doctor, I'm this, I'm that. He emerges and says, I'm God's son, the top martial artist, and I demand my rightful place. That's what it means to be the true Skywalker, son of God, Eri, Haro Ares, Jesus, Horus, different names in different cultures with different explanations as they twist it to fit their cultural narratives. That's simple. When you ignore that, people waste their lives. The wise man says they go to hell. When you ignore that, people suffer and die, people get raped, people miss out on very fulfilling things. They miss out on the point of life. When you pretend that life isn't an obstacle course, it isn't a struggle, where you have to be moral to triumph. When you pretend that Christ on the cross magically isn't a symbol of the most righteous, when I say magically, I'm not into magic. I say that so they don't take me out of context. Of the most righteous person possible, or at the time, facing adversity, suffering for what is right, because a short righteous life is greater than a long wicked life. In popular culture, Herod outlives them, and all these other guys outlive them, Caiaphas, what have you, but their lives are peanuts, are nothing, are a waste of life, just self-indulgent animals compared to the righteous man. Okay, the one moment in the righteous man's life is worth an infinite amount of time in the wicked man's life. That is the overwhelmingly sound conclusion that people are refusing to accept. For example, would you rather live in solitary confinement, staring at a wall for doing what's wrong, okay, for 10 years, and die 10 years from now, or rather die 1 year from now doing what you're really passionate about? How much more when it comes to principles of righteousness rather than how you feel about something? So, when it comes to philosophy, the bell that rings the loudest is monotheism and the fact that a short righteous life is greater than a long conformist life, which is a wicked life, or a long wicked life, what have you. And infinitely more greater, we'll say, than a long wicked life where you pretend that you're righteous. That's garbage. That's stupid.